What's going on, guys, and welcome back. Card synergy and combos is at the top of my most important things to know in Marvel Snap. Now, this isn't just for you when building decks, but when you're going up against an opponent and they're setting stuff up before you donate them 8 cubes, you know what's about to happen. Now, today we're going to be going through a master list I put together of some of the spiciest combos in Marvel Snap. We're going to break it down by archetype and general combos, and then go into the more complex stuff. Now, I'm going to shoot it to you straight. These kind of videos are by far some of the hardest to put together, so hopefully you guys enjoy. And my goal is you walk away knowing at least like one combo that you didn't know before. Let's jump in. All right, guys, we're going to start off with the useful combos first. We've got the tried and true Bishop and Mysterio. Very solid combo, especially if you can work Bast into this. Even better, your Bast is going to give the 3 to all the Mysterios, and your Bishop gets a little bit of a head start. Now, Mr. Fantastic is, wait for it, Fantastic for priority in the early turns. Usually, you'll be winning at least one lane with his bonus, so Crossbones is going to be a natural fit for Tempo. We've got Quinjet with Moon Girl, Quinjet with Demon. Just Quinjet in general is a great card, but don't forget, playing them with cards like Demon gives you a free play, or Moon Girl, some super cheap cards. Now, some other great combos, we have Iron Fist and Vulture. Don't forget them outside of move decks. They have great value kind of all over. They stay out of the Shang-Chi zone. It's 4 energy for 10 power, so very solid. And then as for Rescue, just a good card, guys. Play her on 4, and then I like to put her with cards that either you can leave alone like Jessica Jones and get a big amount of power. Of course, Captain Marvel can move and you still get the 9 power. But most importantly, guys, play cards with huge abilities and low power on Rescue to make up that power difference, and then you get ahead with the ability advantage. Lastly, some other good combos. Don't forget to use Cosmo with cards with bad on-reveal effects like Blade and Maximus. We have Debris and the newly buffed Spider-Woman. You'd be surprised how great that combo is. And then, of course, how could I forget Black Widow into Wave into Odin. You force them to play the Widow's Bite for 4 costs, and then you can do it all over again. Absolutely filthy. Next up, we're going to talk about the Energy Powerhouse combos. Of course, Infinite could be in here as well, but this is your common Sunspot on 1. You can play Moon Girl on 4 and get copies of She-Hulk. You then proceed to skip turn 5, and then on turn 6, you can play really an assortment of cards, but most popular are the powerful 5-cost cards alongside She-Hulk. Now, for the same combo, but even better, a tad bit more telegraphable, but we've got ourselves Magic on turn 5. Turn 6 will be the skip, and this allows us for the 40-point burger of Infinite and 2 She-Hulks. When everything works out, it's an 8-cube winner. It's tough to pull off nowadays, but still a great combo. We continue on with the archetypes. We're going to start out first with Destroy. Now, obviously, guys, by now you know the Death Wave combo there in the middle. Squirrel Girl and Killmonger is great for setting up your death. Bast is the perfect card for Deadpool. We have Arnim Zola and Null, better known as Arnim Nola. Of course, when you scan your Null, it's going to double in power twice. We've got Kingpin on 3, Nimrod on 5, and the cheeky Heimdall on 6 to spread Nimrod. It's a fun combo. Don't rely on it too much, but of course you could put Nimrod also with Shuri into Destroyer, Arnim, or Galactus. One of the best uses for the newest card. Nimrod also works great with Carnage and Deathlock on the last turn of the game. Of course, you can play them into different lanes and get maximum spread of your Nimrod. And then just a closer look onto our Death Wave, guys. Of course, you're going to try to destroy a couple of cards before turn 5. You can play Wave on 5, and that usually lets you play She-Hulk, Death, and 1 5-cost card on turn 6, depending on the amount of cards you destroyed. And to end on Destroy, let's look at some of the biggest power combos outside of Death Wave. We have things like Titania and Ebony Maw, huge power cards that we later kill with our Killmonger. And then we Wave into Null, and then we Arnim Zola into Null for some massive power gain. And then up top is your classic, play a lot of cheap Destroy cards into Carnage, into Venom, and then spread it wide with a huge amount of power with Arnim Zola and Taskmaster. Let's move on to the Control archetype, and we've got the basics like playing Storm and following that up with either Juggernaut or Jessica Jones. But for those that like to disrupt and control, the one on the right side is an absolute beautiful combo. Effectively, you're playing Titania and Green Goblin together into a lane that they already have committed at least 2 cards, and bam, you've blocked them with 2 cards of your own. And then the best part is on turn 6, you can always take that Titania back. And then on the bottom, guys, these are the Daredevil combos. You have Daredevil on the left, followed by all the options that are just solid to pair with them. All of the Guardians of the Galaxy, Galactus, Professor X, Arrow, and Juggernaut for that disruption. And Hobgoblin, of course, is always going to be a solid option. Now, if you have a deck that can spread wide like Doctor Doom or again Bass into Mysterio, this next combo is pretty sick. We've got Storm into Absorbing Man. You close down 2 lanes, and then the only lane they have left, you send a Hobgoblin. This is an awesome way to get a lot of control. There are loads of things you can follow up the double Storm with. This is just one of them. And then on the bottom, if you play Professor X without Daredevil, we have a lot of different cards like Spectrum, Claw, Mr. Fantastic that can boost up your X and win you the lane even after you played them. Now, if we're going to be talking control, we've got to talk about Kingpin, and obviously, you'll be wanting to use any of these movement cards into Kingpin's lane on turn 6. However, I do like to play Juggernaut after playing Kingpin. When players see Kingpin, they try to fill up that lane, and Juggernaut can buy you a couple of turns with more space, and then, of course, you follow that up with one of the movement cards. Now, wrapping it up on control, we've got a spicy combo here, and you guys can play Titania or Demon and beast one of those cards back. Now, why this is insane is you can go ahead and play that card and Professor X, either 5 or 6 power, for a whopping 8 or 9 power to capture a lane. Or, of course, you can go with the tried and true Rescue and Spider-Man into X. Just more ways to secure a lockdown lane. We continue on with ongoing combos, and these are the basic ones that you guys should know by now. We have the 1-lane winner with Mr. Fantastic, Omega Red, Claw, and Onslaught. Now, very hard to pull off with Arrow and all the disruption cards, but if you're able to throw these on Dark Dimension or just play them in the earlier pools, definitely a very solid combo. And then below that, same thing, but with Iron Man opposed to Claw, you can get an 8 spread of power and then definitely win the lane that these 4 cards are in. Now, of course, Mystique can be used alongside any ongoing card. Cerebro and her make a natural great fit, obviously, for Cerebro decks. You can check the guide up above for everything you possibly want to know about Cerebro. Following her up behind Morbius is also fantastic for discard lovers. And then the tried and true Namor and Claw. Now that Namor has a buff, you're looking at 17 power in the lane he's in, which is nothing to sleep on. And then lastly, Ronin will have his day here soon with Master Mold, but Maximus, Sandman, all combined perfectly with Ronin. And then, of course, you can always Mystique that as well if you were able to ramp out Sandman. Excellent combo and is getting better with new cards coming out. Now let's move on to I bet you didn't know these combos. In fact, I've never released this, and I don't know if anyone has at this point. We've got Wave on turn 3 into Onslaught, and then what you'll do on turn 5 is either play Devil Dinosaur, Darkhawk, or Ronin, depending on the deck you've built, and then you end it on turn 6 with Taskmaster. This will result in a huge Taskmaster without Shuri. Now, we also have Devil Dinosaur that obviously you could play on turn 5, but for a turn 6 follow-up, I love playing Mystique, followed by Agent Coulson. You would be shocked how many cubes you can win just by adding +4 to both of your Devil Dinosaurs via Agent Coulson, as long as you've set up your hand for success leading up to turn 5. And then lastly, we have another Wave into Onslaught into Sarah. This allows for a huge turn 6 miracle with more expensive cards. For example, you can play 2 5-cost cards on turn 6. Something like Iron Man and Valkyrie is a lane winner. Now, to put a bow on the ongoing archetype, let's talk about some pool 4 and 5 cards. Starting with Dazzler at first. Of course, the Ant-Man, Omega Red, Ultron, Dazzler combo. Very good to secure cubes if your opponent is not expecting it, especially in a Patriot deck. And then for the bottom, this is your standard Darkhawk building deck, using things like Korg, Rock Slide, and then you play Darkhawk into Mystique. And of course, you can do things like Black Widow as well. Now, for discard, there's not a lot that you guys don't already know, but with MODOK coming into the game, obviously things like MODOK into Strong Guy or Apocalypse Dracula is always solid. Calling Wing is now one of the best turn 2 plays in all of Snap. You're going to get a 2/8 value by discarding Swarm or Wolverine, and even more if you have Morbius and Collector on the board. Very good early play for discard decks. Now, clearly, by now, you guys know the Lady Sif, Black Cat, or Gambit into Ghost Rider, just a tried and true discard combo. And then for you casino lovers, Invisible Woman with MODOK and Hela is the ultimate Hela deck. You can essentially bring back all of your high-power cards that were in your hand, so long as you've got the location space. Now, moving on to move. Not a lot of combos here, but a few great ones. First of all, we have Iron Fist and Dagger on turn 6. Now, this is especially great if you have something like Beast to take them back into your hand and only have 1 energy to spin for a massive value when playing Dagger in the correct lane. Nightcrawler is the perfect low energy card to activate Miles Morales. You can throw in Moon Girl on top of that to get double of them, which gives you 2 energy for 10 power. Or you can use cards like Polaris to also activate Miles. Now, we also got a ramp combo of playing Dr. Octopus, pulling all of their cards, messing up their combos. then Heimdalling all of your cards to another lane, which with a move deck, you're probably planning on it. And this gives us the perfect transition to ramp combos. Now, starting off, I have the ramp staple. Obviously, Sunspot is just insane. The best one cost in all of Marvel Snap. And you combine that with Electro for even more power to the card. These are typically the core cards I have when making my ramp decks. It gives you everything you need for good power early on, and then you can have 5 and 6 cost cards for the remainder of the match. Very solid setup. As far as combos to play with your ramp setups, it's a bit tough because there are so many different options. Of course, cards like Arrow or Spider-Woman or Sandman into Doctor Doom followed by Odin is a very good start. A good rule of thumb is spread power as wide as possible because your opponent is also limited on cards, which is why the 2 combos down below work so well along with the Doctor Doom and Odin. You can do Black Panther or now Nimrod followed by Arnim Zola for an immense amount of power spread across the lanes, or even just Claw into Onslaught is a ton of power generated that's tough for your opponent to keep up with if they weren't prepared. Now, we've covered all the combos on the top end, but I wanted to put all of them in one kind of nice graphic. We've got Destroyer and Spectrum as probably one of the favorite ramp combos when made in an ongoing deck. Never sleep on Arnim Zola, who can spread any big power across multiple lanes. You can do something like Nick Fury on 4, Devil Dinosaur on 5, and Arnim Zola on 6. Or my personal favorite, the Triple Disruption Special. I used to do this with Leader, but now you can do Arrow followed by Absorbing Man and then Odin to pull their cards every single turn. It's ridiculous. Next up, we have the Toxic Combos, and I have a full video breaking down these combos that you can check up above, but quickly to touch on it, obviously using Viper for your advantage, using it with the Hood, Electro, or if you got the courage, you can use it on Ebony Maw to push them on the other side and restrict your opponent from playing any cards in that location, with you only having to catch up on 4 power. Now, Debris into Absorbing Man is just insane if you have the right cards to follow up, but if you truly want to make a toxic deck, these are some of the combos I like to rely on. Obviously, the one on the top is the Toxic Rain, putting rocks on their side, hazmatting them down, and then protecting your side with Luke Cage. And then on the bottom, it's a Sarah Zabu combination to have a huge turn 6. You can combine Gambit into the mix as well, or Ironheart, or any on reveal with great effects. But in short, it's an explosive turn they weren't prepared for. Now we're going to move on to the Bounce archetype, and people are starting to finally play this more. Now, essentially, the cards at the top are pretty much all the best cards to bounce back into your hand, minus a couple. Iceman, the Hood, Korg, Black Widow are all just awesome for disruption. Getting multiple demons can stack up and start to get out of hand quickly with a lot of cheap options, especially, again, going back to our Quinjet combo as well. If you can play Cable alongside Yondu and beast them back, it's just an insane tactic to whittle down their deck and leave them with little options. And then on the bottom, we've got cards that just combine well with Beast, Bast into Angela or Bishop, or just the Collector are great to pair up in a bounce deck. And then my favorite, you can have an infinite bounce deck by playing Absorbing Man following Beast in the Beast lane, picking back up your Beast and doing it over and over. Now, to wrap up our archetypes before we get into specific cards, we have Mr. Negative, of course. Guys, the MVP of the deck is typically Iron Man or Mystique, but now we've got kind of a Cats deck which focuses on playing Wong, Shuri, and Black Panther, followed by the obvious free play of Arnim Zola or Taskmaster. Even if you only get one of these, such a strong combo out the gate. Obviously, if you can pair up Mr. Negative with Zabu or Psylocke, you can play him early. Playing both of them these days is probably preferred. Or lastly, for you Surfer fans, you can still play Wolfsbane, Silver Surfer, even Brood into a negative deck for some good success. Now, with Mr. Negative, you always have the chance to break the game if you get the perfect cards combined, and this is a great example. You'll be playing Zabu and Psylocke early, followed by Mr. Negative on hopefully turn 3, and then you play Jane Foster to pull all of the cards that were once 0 power or now 0 cost. And this is going to give you a massive turn 6 with a free Taskmaster, free Arnim, free Iron Man, free Null. You can add on a free Mystique, a free Darkhawk. I mean, it's a guaranteed win and snap if you pull the combo. Now, let's talk card combos specifically. So we're going to focus on one card and a bunch of cards that either synergize or you want to put into the deck or play alongside one of the cards. Now, we start out with Zero, and this is kind of the meta right now, is to play Zero followed by Titania or Lizard for a massive amount of power on turn 1 and 2 to get that early priority. And then obviously any of these other options are just great to pair up with them. And you can also do things like Sentry and other options, but these are the main 0 offenders. There are so many Wong combos to go through, but I wanted to pick some of my favorites. Now, the top one is one of the tried and true ones that if you haven't tested it out yet, you've got to give it a try. Essentially, you play Ironheart even into nothing, it doesn't matter. You'll play Wong on 4, White Tiger on 5, and Odin on 6. This will trigger tigers to go across all of your locations. Ironheart will then boost up all of those tigers, and then you'll do it all over again just to get a mass amount of power out quickly with only 4 cards. Next up, the good dog, we've got Lockjaw, and these are all the card combos that somewhat work with Lockjaw. We've got the token cards up top. Naturally, Jubilee, Quinjet, and then obviously Thanos' Infinity Stones. Thor and the Asgardians just are great to cycle through and power up these cards. And then Wasp as a free token card. Now, early pulls, you can put in Quicksilver or even Maria Hill is great as a 2-cost card, giving you a 1-cost card to use as another token into Lockjaw. And then down below, we've got the cards that are all great with Lockjaw. Nightcrawler and Vision, if they come from Lockjaw, you can move them out of the way. Big power cards like Giganto, Magneto, Infinite, alongside others. Leech, I hate to say it, clearly is a good Lockjaw card. Don't hate me in the comments. And then things like Ironheart, Gambit, anything that you can throw into the dog and it comes back out again or has a chance to is always a solid option. Now, this one will be quick, but I think people can play the Collector a lot more, and these are a lot of the cards that synergize with them. Obviously, the discard options that we spoke about earlier, alongside Beast, Hood, and Maria Hill. Pretty much anything that goes with Devil Dinosaur will also go alongside the Collector. So Agent Coulson, Nick Fury, Moon Girl, White Queen, Quinjet, and Agent 13 are natural pairing selections. I encourage you to experiment. The card has a lot of possibility. Now, of course, we couldn't talk about combos without bringing up Shuri. Now, you can put pretty much any high-powered card here, but these are the main offenders to take advantage of. Things like Vision for a portable nuke, Captain Marvel to save the day with minimal effort. You have Titania for just a cheap 10-power play. Magneto and Red Skull for immense power to copy with Taskmaster or Arnim Zola. You have Arrow for the disruption and great power, or Hobgoblin that you can use to single-handedly ruin a lane that you can then Galactus into or just focus on one other. Really, guys, it's simple. You combine Shuri alongside the best cards in Snap, and yep, that's currently the meta as of making this video. But let's continue on with the Patriot, and I just wanted all of it on one screen. The cards that I think synergize best with the no ability booster in Patriot. Now, for the less obvious options, we have Ultron's drones, Tiger Spirit from White Tiger, Doctor Doom's Doombots, and then, of course, things like Demon or Sinister Clone or Broodlings to get some mass amount of power from just good cards anyway. Mysterio's Illusions, Debris Rocks are all kind of the best cards to utilize with the Patriot. And then, of course, you can even rely on the Hulk for a mass amount of power. With the Patriot, you want to stay under the radar, and so looking at some of these options, try to find ones that are less obvious. Now, Invisible Woman is very unique in the way that she works in Marvel Snap. This allows us to play cards like Atuma and Kingpin or even Ebony Maw to keep them under the radar during the entire game, and then we don't proc their negative effects, such as Atuma destroying himself. Kingpin can still destroy cards even if he's revealed after Invisible Woman. Of course, Hela is a natural fit, or you can do this Patriot combo to lay on a bunch of Ultron drones without them expecting. And usually people use Cosmo to counter Invisible Woman, so even playing ongoing cards like the Onslaught Claw one we spoke about before can be huge because it's not going to be effective. Now, people often ask me what I think the most underrated card in Snap is, and Valkyrie is near the top of that list. Now, here are some card combos to get you started, but essentially, Valkyrie puts everybody at 3 power, and these cards allow you to be slightly above it or above your opponent. Now, the Soul Stone is -1 to all of them, while you will be at 3, they'll be at 2. You have ongoing cards like Captain America, Ant-Man, Blue Marvel, Mr. Fantastic, and Kazar, all work in great harmony with Valkyrie. Or something as simple as Angela or even Bishop. She'll set everybody to 3, and you'll just get that little bit of extra power to win the lane. And there it is, guys. Every spicy combo I could come up with jam-packed into one YouTube video. If I forgot one that's a banger and I didn't put it in, drop it down below. I'll be pinning my favorites. Also, it helps support me massively to keep on doing content and making graphics just like this. If you haven't already, click the red subscribe button. Over 55% of you guys have not yet subscribed. And yeah, it helps out a lot. I get it if you don't, but it'd be awesome if you did. Have a good one. Have a great one. And until the next one, happy snapping.